Greetings and salutations, it's me, James, your BA Sensei, back with another Power Query tutorial. In today's video, we're going to do a lookup, but not just any old lookup. We are going to take a list of holidays, and we have a list of orders, and we're going to look up the closest next holiday to a specific date. And then we're going to return it in a table like this with the next holiday column. So we're going to be learning a lot of new functions. Enough talking, let me show you how to do it. Alright, the first step is always get the data into Power Query. Select your first table, go to data and say from table arrange. This opens Power Query. You can see it added the change type step over there, which gives you your data types. So what I'm going to do there is this first date, this order date is date time. I just want to convert this to date. Just change that in that part of the query. Say OK. Go to File, Close and Load to. I'm just going to load this as a connection. And then you do the same with the holiday table. Select the holiday table, go to data, and from table arrange. That opens Power Query once again. Change type step, converted this into date time. I just want to make a date. Select that and you say excellent. All right, so we're going to start from the orders table. We're going to say add a new column. Right, so let's call this column the next holiday. And all I'm going to put in there, I'm just going to say, what is the other query's name? The other query is called holiday. And I'm just going to say, see, there it is. I say, OK. So what it does now, for each row in my orders table, it returns the holidays table in its totality with all of the holidays in. Right. So my mission would be then to filter out all of the days in there that corresponds to this order date and then return the holiday name in this column. So I'm going to do inner and outer table connections and queries. Right. So how do we do that? First thing, so you can see this is referring to the holiday table, which is the inner table. Right. So now this inner table, I want to add a column to that. So as I use the add column on the main table, I can do the same there. I can say table, add column to the holiday table. I'm going to add a column called number of days. And that thing with the each is just simply going to be, I'm simply going to be like, take that date from the inner query, that one, and subtract it from that order dates over there. And close your bracket out, close your bracket out. Now this is going to give me a sweet error. The reason being is it doesn't really know where to find this date and that order date. It really doesn't have much context. It doesn't understand that the one is the outer each and the other one is the inner each, or the inner table, the outer table. So now how do we do that? You can see we have two eaches here. Each number 1 and each number 2. We can use those eaches because this second each refers to this table. The first each refers to that table. So let's start with the second each. I'm going to wrap it in brackets and I'm going to end it with a rocket dash like that. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to say this is the holiday table, right? And I'm going to say this holiday table, actually, this date, I'm just going to append it with, this comes from the holiday table, that date column. Now we need to do something similar to this each over there. So there are two ways you can do it. By default, this each, you can do it like this, just with the underscore. That would refer to that first one. But to not cause confusion, let me quickly show you what I would do. I would rather wrap this also in a rocket dash and call this, let's call this the order table. And I'm just going to say this order table, this comes from the order table. So now you have an inner and the outer query. So now let's see what happens. Now it's got a little bit more context. You can see that worked. So because we explicitly took those eaches and declared them as variables, we could spoon feed Power Query what the context is of this date and that date, and it can actually determine a number of days. What I want to do now, as you can see, this is in date time format. I want to convert this to normal numbers, right? So I'm just going to shift and enter here so we can split the two out. So that's the inner and that's the outer query. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this calculation, I'm going to say number from, and I'm going to wrap the whole thing in there. Now this should be in a number format. All right. So we basically now have a little indicator. Now that's how we can connect the closest date to the order date over there. What I need to do now is, my next thing is I want to filter out any dates that are not applicable. So I want to look at the next holiday. So this is the 25th of June. So I want to exclude all of these negatives and only return the positives. All right, so how I can do that, just want to quickly show you this. If I do this, select some random numbers, you can see Power Query uses table select rows, and it does it each like that to select things, right? I'm going to use that exact same formula. Let's just delete that. So what I'm going to say is this inner table, that's a table. I'm going to say table select rows, and I'm going to wrap it into that because this is actually a table, as you can see. That's actually a table, and I'm going to tell it for each, because as a table, and I'm going to say for each number of days needs to be greater or bigger than 0. Let's see what happened. There we go. You can see we only have positives in the inner table. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? All right, so now that we have that, we want to, there's a couple of ways we can do it. We can use the top N, but I'm going to use one that I haven't really used before. It's table min, right? To get the minimum row in a specific data set based on a specific column. So how I can use that is just inside this each, I can say table min. This returns the smallest row of a default value using a given criteria. Right, so now that's quite simple because all we do is we go, this criteria should be based on the number of days. And what it does is it returns a record. There we go. So you can see that's pretty cool. So that returns the top record that matches the criteria. As you can see, the closest holiday to the 25th of June is Independence Day, the 4th of July. Closest holiday to the 16th of March is Memorial Day, which is the 26th of May, 71 days in the future. Right. So what we can do is, now you know how to work with the records, we can just simply say, in brackets, return the holiday name. Do that. And there we go. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? So you basically use the record. This table.min returns a record, and then you can choose whatever you need from that record and bring that back into your main query. And now we say close and load. And that brings it back into Excel. And there we go. There's our next holiday date. Well, I really hope that opened your eyes on what you can achieve with Power Query with a little bit of knowledge of some of the functions, the nuanced functions like table min. And then applying that to your solutions. Inner and outer tables are quite a thing to get your head around. But once you get it, it's so powerful. Anyway. BA Sensei signing out.